Hello data lovers, and welcome to another I Love Data Fridays video. This video is from volume 1, which was a set of questions taken on December the 2nd, 2016, and this video is addressing the second of 2 questions from that I Love Data Fridays. So this video is going to be talking about the Table 3 series in your site reports and in the national report, and we're specifically in the video, the question is framed around discontinued students. So let me just give a quick idea of what we'll be talking about today. In this video, we're going to be mostly talking about this table right here, table 3.1, though what I'm going to talk about today can apply to any of the tables, 3.1 through 3.6. And the question is focused most around this first line of data, the discontinued students data. So let me get right into it. So our question that came into us from a teacher leader was, in the Table 3 series of the site report, it always looks like discontinued children entered with higher scores than recommended children in the fall testing period, perhaps leading to the incorrect conclusion that we only discontinue the higher children. So, question. The Table 3 series does not say that it is only about first-round children. So, does this mean that the tables include both first and second-round children? Including both round of discontinued children's fall data inflates the entry profiles of successfully discontinued children with whom we actually work in the fall. Is this an accurate conclusion? So, great question, all right? And I think there's actually multiple questions in this one question here. I think, and I'm sort of inferring some questions in here or adding some on. So really the question submitter did have the question, do the Table 3s include both first round and second round discontinued students? And though she's not specifically asking this, she is stating that, it does affect the fall averages. So I was going to look at how does this affect the fall averages, depending on the question, the answer to the very first question. Then we can talk, I want to talk about, what can I do about this? Do we have options depending on how our first set of questions are answered? And though I don't think the question submitter, the teacher leader, was specifically asking for us to address this, but I wanted to say, to address, can people draw false conclusions from the Table 3s? So let me get right into it. The very first question is, do the Table 3s include both first round and second round discontinued students? And the answer is yes. And actually, it includes both first, second, and third round students in there. So all of your discontinued kids throughout the year are included in that computation. So when you look at this table and you look at this row of discontinued students, you should know that it includes kids who were served in both the first, second, and if you had third round children. All right, so it is included in there. So the sort of second question, the teacher leader says, doesn't this inflate the fall averages? And so we're going to take a quick look at that here. Let me pull up a spreadsheet. And the answer is yes. When our children in the our children in the second round are usually kids who have higher text reading levels in the fall. So what I've done is I've just nationally taken discontinued students and their text reading level in the fall, and I've computed the averages for first round, second rounds, and then I've combined all of the rounds together. And you can see that, our first round students are lower in the fall, and that our second round students are higher in the fall. And that when you bring them together, the higher scores take this average, and when you combine them all up, it does increase the overall average score. So that is something to be aware of when you're talking about the Table 3s. It is including all rounds of students in the discontinued row. All right, so the next part of this I wanted to talk about is, what can I do about this? So I think one thing that's nice to point out is you can use the table 5.1 and both your site report, and you can, if you wanted to, you could even use the table 5.1 in the national report. So here, let's talk a little data and look at these tables. The first is a sample from a sample table that you would find in your site report. This is a table 5.1 that you would find in your site report. So this table is specifically showing literacy measures for students who were discontinued and started their interventions in the fall. So our first round discontinued students. All right, so this very first row is the text reading level, and here is their fall average score, when they've entered in the fall. All right, so you can say, if someone says, well, gosh, these text reading levels are looking high, you're not taking the lowest kids first. What you can do is say, well, look, here's table 5.1. We're taking, here's the average score for our first round discontinued students, and you can show that that average is lower right there. If you wanted to, because we all know that you love data, you could then even go back and reassure yourself that we're doing this at a national level, and I'm getting here to table 5.1 in the national report. And this table is somewhat similar. It shows the 6 observation survey tasks. It also includes the OS total score on here, but it is for kids who had discontinued programs. And here are the fall scores right here. But what's nice is that not only do we have our first round kids in this first set of data, you have the second round kids down here in the second round of data. So you can see that, our first round discontinued students are coming in much lower than our second round discontinued students, at least nationally. So you can show nationally we are following along with that, okay? All right, so now let me get to our final question here. And once again, I don't think the teacher leader was specifically asking us, but I thought it was good to address that, can people draw false conclusions from the table 3s? And I mean, the honest answer is people can do whatever they want with data once it's out. Once you plop data on somebody's desk, it's beyond your control to, I don't like saying that. It's, they can do with it whatever they want. I think the best that we can do in any scenario is to explain to them accurately as we can what this table or these data are showing, and then what they choose to do with it after that is really kind of out of our hands. So I think always a good thing to do is that if you're going to share data with somebody, if you do prepare a document or something, is to put a short explanation with it, because the data in the table, the data only tells part of the story, and so we have to help fill in that narrative with explanations. And I know we're all busy people and we don't all have time to write little short paragraphs with the data that we give out to people, but that I think is one of the ways to ensure that when someone looks at it, that they will get an unbiased account of what the data is trying to show, and then they can choose to either accept it or ignore it. I don't mean to be pessimistic like that, but that's something that we face all the time. So once it's out, there's not much we can do, but we can help by giving accompanying explanations to it. All right, folks. Well, this has been another I Love Data Fridays video, volume 1, question number 2 of 2, and that wraps it up for this December 2nd series of questions from our very first I Love Data Fridays. And we're looking forward to getting more questions from you next month in January. Talk data to you later.